Yes, my name is Julie Millsap, and I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Advocacy at Campaign for Uyghurs. I think it is going to create a lot of further momentum around the issue, particularly in the UK. And a big reason for that is they're bringing together some of the biggest voices, scholars and politicians in the UK that have been focused on these issues. So bringing those perspectives together and being able to identify potential priorities, I think will create a lot of international momentum. From our perspective, I think that one thing that has begun to happen that should continue is that there needs to continue to be an alliance building approach. So this is not just a US issue. The US has had strong leadership on it, but we really need the entire international community to be confronting China together. So that needs to continue. One thing that's somewhat concerning to us right now is watching China be allowed to use certain political factors as bargaining chips right now. One of those being climate change, another with everything that's happening in Afghanistan, the international community needs to be particularly vigilant and realize that China is not going to be a cooperative partner or ally on any issue while they're comfortable continuing to defend active genocide. I think that there may be potential avenues in the future. Right now, a lot of that is highly symbolic. I think there were some interesting points raised in the conference about potential, one of those even being that there actually is potential to file against a nation state, including the UK, for not preventing genocide because nation states have an obligation to prevent. So these are potential avenues to begin to not specifically just seek justice, but also kind of create pressure. However, I don't know that realistically any of them would be applied right now. But I think these conversations are still important to have because when we have things like this conference combined with the Uyghur Tribunal happening in the UK next week, this essentially is actually gathering evidence so that in the future, we are hopeful that potentially there will be an opportunity to hold, at very least, some of the leaders who are the architects of this genocide. I think just that I would encourage anyone watching to acquaint yourselves with these testimonies. What they have to say is jarring, and it's particularly jarring because this is repeating very recent history, essentially. A lot of what they're testifying to is very uniform, and that there are similar stories coming out about the particular ways that people have been abused physically, mentally, sexually, and the types of dehumanization that are occurring. This is, of course, most concerning and should be something that really alerts the international community, not just to the realities of what's facing the Uyghur people, but the way that the Chinese authorities view vulnerable peoples in general. There's lessons for all of us, particularly countries that may be buying into China's Belt and Road Initiative of potentially what their future will look like if this genocide is not stopped. We have to use economic factors. We have to have all the countries stand up and say that they're willing to cease doing business with the genocidal regime. So one particularly key way, of course, that's received a lot of focus being the Beijing Olympics. Corporate sponsors should not be supporting games hosted by a genocidal regime. Additionally, action to prevent goods that are produced with Uyghur forced labor from entering different countries. This should be something that every nation is examining because this type of economic leverage is really the only thing that would potentially pressure the Chinese government to change its behavior.